In this video, I'm going to talk about 9 signs that you can use to tell if you're settling in your love life. Nobody wants to settle. Nobody wants to compromise on the dream and just deal with what they have because it's what's in front of them. But the truth is, it's difficult to figure out if that's where you really are for a number of reasons. One, there's usually a lot of good that happens in a relationship. And so that good can overshadow all the negative. And number two, we often get invested in our relationships. And when we get invested, there's an economic principle, which I rarely use, but an economic principle that applies to relationships. And that's the sunken cost fallacy. I've invested so much money in this project. It'd be a shame to see it kind of crash and burn. Same thing in romantic relationships. I've invested so much time. I don't want to have to start over. It seems like, isn't it simpler and easier to make this one work? Where you see this happen more often than not are women who feel the pressure of a biological clock to start a family, but it's not exclusive to them. It happens to men, it happens to older women, younger women as well, but it's worth noting that it's, at least in my anecdotal experience as a couples counselor, that's where I see it the most often. So let's dive into the actual signs that you might be settling. The first one is you feel more like roommates than partners. Everybody gets there at a certain point in their relationship, or almost everyone, I should say. If you're feeling like a roommate, and I've known couples to even call each other roommates, that is a bad sign. That is a sign that the affection has grown so distant for you that you don't mind calling attention to the painful part of the relationship and nothing's being done about it. Right. And so if you feel like roommates, that's a pretty bad sign. Sign number two, you're staying because it's comfortable, not because you're fulfilled. And so if you feel a lack of fulfillment in the relationship, whatever that means to you, where you feel like the person is really falling short and you don't know how to fix it and they don't want to try and you can't talk about it and it's just really unfulfilling, but it's easier than getting back on the dating apps or meeting someone new, you are settling. That is kind of the quintessential definition of settling, right? So that's one that you really have to watch out for. By the way, if you're new here, my name is Dr. Jon Dabach. I'm a couples counselor. I'm also a relationship coach, and I come out with content like this all the time. There's no fancy editing. There's no crazy graphics. It's just me kind of spilling my guts out of everything I've learned working with thousands and thousands of people over well over a decade in this crazy world of couples and relationships. And I hope that something I am providing here is helpful to you. If you like it, make sure to like and subscribe because I come out with videos like this all the time. And I'm sure that if this talks to you, this speaks to you, there'll be more just like it. Sign number three, you find yourself daydreaming about being with someone else or even being single. If you are imagining and fantasizing about other people, not just sexually, there's room in every healthy relationship for sexual fantasies. That's at least my stance. But if you're fantasizing about being someone emotionally, where there's a relationship on an intimate level other than just physical, that's a sign you are probably settling, and you should really consider why that creeps up into your head. And how long you indulge that fantasy also speaks volumes. Number four, your emotional or physical needs are often unmet. So I don't want you to get into this habit of having a list of needs that your partner needs to fulfill for you to be happy. You should be able to be happy on your own. But if you have desires emotionally and physically that are going unmet, and you feel like you'd actually be better off without the person, then you are definitely settling. Okay. And now there are exceptions when you're with someone for many years and the sex dies down. Yes, technically speaking, if you go to the clubs and you start meeting people that way, you could have a better sexual life, but that doesn't mean that it's more fulfilling. That might be fun for a while, but then you're going to get tired of it. It's going to feel a little weird for most of you at least. And so there, you have to kind of use common sense with some of this. The next one, your passion is lacking. And there's a lack of excitement for the relationship. So if you're not excited to be with the person, if someone says, tell me about your partner, your wife, your husband, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, and you don't say, oh, they're amazing. If there isn't that feeling that you're excited to describe who they are and what they bring to the relationship, that's not a great sign. I got to tell you, when people ask about my wife, I gush over her. Now that it's not always going to be like that. It's, there are going to be moments where maybe you're a little pissed, but you should be thinking about their positive qualities and be able to brag about them. And if you don't, that means that passion about who they are really isn't, getting you up in the morning excited to be with them. And so, yes, you are settling. Number 6, you keep making excuses for your partner's behaviors or shortcomings. Now, if you guys are living different lifestyles, maybe one is much more wild at parties than you, right? So your partner is just a completely different planet, and they go nuts, and it's embarrassing to you. And you find yourself at the party saying, "I'm so sorry," for your, to kind of apologize for your partner, and you're making excuses. He's had a rough week, they've had a rough month. Chances are that behavior that they don't find as something you need to explain, isn't in line with something that you believe, a value you're holding. And so if that comes up, guess what? You are settling. Number 7, you avoid discussing your future together. This is a sign that you're not looking forward to the future. And so you don't want to talk about it because it's kind of deflating to you emotionally. If you're dating a dud, if you're with someone that's not exciting, or even if you're married and the talk of retirement comes up and you're just not excited by it, so you don't want to talk about it, that means that you're dreading something. And dread is definitely connected to settling because you feel stuck. Number 8, you feel like you're constantly compromising on your values and your desires. So you can't get what you want. You can't expect the same value system from your partner that you have. And so you just say, well, maybe that's not so important. You need to be able to sit and look at yourself in the mirror and say, these are values I really hold dear, and my partner holds them with me. Or we disagree, but I understand where they're coming from. If you're in a place where it's like, I really hold this value dear and they don't at all, and I don't get it, but maybe I'm the one that is wrong. Once in a while, to have a feeling like that, maybe there's an area of growth. But to do it constantly, where you're just constantly compromising on your values, constantly compromising on your standards, constantly compromising on your desires, you are absolutely settling, and you need to reevaluate that relationship. And number 9 is your fear, right? Your fear about being alone is stronger than losing your current relationship. There are many good reasons to get out of a relationship, and there are many good reasons to stay in a relationship. But one that is not healthy is that you have a fear of being alone, because that means any warm body at that point is going to be a hook, is going to be an anchor for you. And if you are there simply because it's more comfortable, or you're too afraid to get back out there and meet someone new, then you have settled. You should be with someone every day. When you wake up in the morning, there should be a conscious choice that, yes, if I had to start all over again, I would still choose this person. It's not going to be that strong every day, but you should have some sentiment deep down like that every day when you wake up and you know that you're with somebody. Now, in connection with settling, a lot of times you will have behaviors where subconsciously and sometimes consciously you're sabotaging the relationship, where you're actively doing something or neglecting something to ruin the relationship on purpose or even on a subconscious level, and you might not be aware of it. In my next video, I'm going to talk about 7 signs that you're actually sabotaging your relationship and your happiness that you might not be aware of. And if that sounds like something you need to listen to or need to refer a friend to, you can click on the screen somewhere here to watch that video right now.